Today we're going to talk about density. Density is a physical property, and we looked at it in the mass versus volume lab last week. Density is a measure of how tightly packed the molecules of a substance are. Density is a derived unit, and a derived unit means it is something we don't measure. Okay? In order to get this, we have to measure different things and then do a calculation in order to get density. That's what a derived unit is. So because density is a derived unit, it is derived from two other units that can be measured, mass and volume. If you don't have these two things, you cannot find the density. Mass is the amount of matter in an object, and when we measure mass, we measure it in grams. Volume is how much space an object takes up, and we measure volume two different ways. If it's a solid, we measure it in centimeters cubed, and if it's a liquid, we measure it in milliliters. To measure the mass of an object, you use an electronic scale. To measure the volume, there are two different ways. If it is a cube or a rectangular object, you can use a ruler and measure the length, the width, and the height. But if it's an irregularly shaped object, we have to use a graduated cylinder or a beaker. So this here is a graduated cylinder, and this is an assortment of beakers. In order to do the calculation of density, all you need to do is divide the mass by the volume of an object. So the equation for density would be D for density equals m over v. So mass divided by volume. One of the easiest tricks for this is to put this in a triangle form. And in a triangle form, it would look like this. And we put the D over here. We put the V over here and the M on top. And what you do is you cover up the variable that you're looking for. So let's say you had the density of an object and the volume of the object, and you wanted to find out the mass. What you can do is each of these lines represents something. So the horizontal line means divide, and the vertical line means multiply. So what I would do here is I would cover up the M. If I wanted to find the mass, I would cover this up. And that would give me, or leave me, with the D and the V. And so therefore I have to multiply them because the vertical line means multiply. So if I were looking for the mass, let me move my cover out of the way, mass would be equal to density times volume. If I wanted to solve for volume, I would cover up my V, and I would be left with mass divided by density. So that would look like V equals, because V is what we're solving for, that's what I have covered up, mass divided by density. The last thing that I'm going to go over is the units for density. And the units are pretty simple. So all we're doing is we're going to combine the units between mass and volume. So if we look at this, mass is measured in grams, volume is measured in centimeters cubed or milliliters. So because we don't have the same unit on the top and the bottom, we don't cancel it out. Just like in your math class, if you had x squared over x, you would cancel one of these out and this would be equal to x. Same thing in science. If we have the same thing on the top and the bottom, they would cancel out. But we have G, which is grams on the top for mass, and we have centimeters cubed or milliliters on the bottom. They're not the same. So because of that, we keep them all. So our units for density are grams per centimeter cubed or grams per milliliter. A lot of times you'll see it written grams slash centimeters cubed and grams slash milliliter. Those mean the exact same thing. Now today we're only going to focus on doing density calculations of regularly shaped objects. So that means things that we can measure the volume by the length, the width, and the height. Okay. When we get into irregularly shaped objects, we will use a method called displacement, and I will get to that in the next few days. So today we're going to work on volume with the length, the width, and the height. So if you have those three things, in order to find the volume, all you have to do is multiply. All right, let's try some practice calculations. Okay, we're going to work this one out together. A wooden block has a mass of 562 grams and a volume of 72 centimeters cubed. What is the density? So it might be best if you write your density triangle. That way you'll have it as a reference. So I'm solving for density here. So this is what I'm looking for. And in order to find density, so if I cover that up, it means I need mass divided by volume. Okay, because those are the two that are not covered up. So my equation is going to be D, which is density, equals mass divided by volume. So the question is being asked, what is the density? So that's what I'm looking for, the D. D is already by itself on the equation, so I'm going to leave that alone. I need two things in order to calculate D. The first is I need the mass. So if we read the sentence again, it says a mass of 562 grams. So that means that my mass is equal to 562 grams. If I continue reading, it says a volume of 72 cubic centimeters, or centimeters cubed. So my V is going to be equal to 72 centimeters cubed. Okay, now that I have both of those, this is when we just plug and chug. That means we plug in the numbers for the different spots. So where my M is, I'm going to get rid of my M. And what I'm going to put there in its place is what my M is, 562 grams. Now you notice I do write the units because the units are important. They are a part of the number here. And then I'm going to get rid of my V. Maybe. Oh, there we go. Okay. And I'm going to plug in my V amount, which is 72 cubic centimeters. So I'm going to put 72 cubic centimeters on the bottom here. So now I'm going to divide these two numbers. When I divide them out, I find that I get 7.81. That's the number part. And now I need units. So my G is going to stay grams per centimeters cubed. And there you have it. This right here is our density. All right, go ahead and try this one on your own. A brick has a volume of 560 centimeters cubed and a mass of 1,250 grams. What is its density? Okay, here's your answer so you can check your work. The mass was 1,250 grams. The volume was 560 centimeters cubed. We ended up dividing, and you should have gotten 2.32 grams per centimeter cubed. Right now, we're just going to round all answers to 2 decimal places. Now it's your turn to practice. Go to the assignment in Google Classroom, complete the practice problems on a sheet of paper, and then upload photos of your work in your assignment. As always, if you need more help, let me know. Have a good day.